So we are now well into, is it 4 weeks in to lockdown per se? And with anything new, there comes a honeymoon period, and lockdown is no different. There are certain aspects of it that seem quite good fun. It's almost novel. To start off with, the ability to sit and drink a gin in your pajamas at 12:30 on a Tuesday and not be judged by anyone for it. And it can be quite liberating in some ways, not having to do the commute into work. And we like that. That bit's fun. And that is similar to when, people first start on a new exercise regime or a new diet or something like that. And if you remember when we started that, we talked a lot about establishing routines. We went through that and we talked about journaling, gave you some examples of how to do that. And hopefully there are a few of you that have taken that on board and kept up with it. That's awesome. For those of you that haven't, and actually in some cases for those of you that have as well, you are now going to be exiting that honeymoon phase and you're going to be heading into the next phase, which is where it becomes normal. This becomes normality. This very abnormal situation that we're in becomes the norm. And that is less exciting. It's less easy to get yourself motivated to do things. The novelty of online training's worn out. The novelty of cooking all your lunches rather than picking them up from prep has worn out. And it's at this point that we start to lose motivation to look after ourselves better. And I've noticed fewer people running in the park, for example. Those people that say, I'm going to go for a run every day to keep healthy, their motivation will start to wane. And it's what we've always talked about with you guys. Motivation is not going to get you through. It's good to get you started, and it's good in fits and bursts, but it's never going to be there all the time. And I think that a lot of us now are starting to feel the day-to-day drain of what's happening. So this is when you start to go off the rails a little bit. But also, this is a really interesting time to observe. What we are setting up right now is a really unique situation, is we are setting up new habit cycles or feedback loops. And this is something we've talked about in previous webinars, seminars and things. Every time you feel something and then do something as a result of that emotion, then that makes you feel a certain way. And you've created a feedback loop, you've created a habit cycle, and right now is the time when you are forming habit cycles. And that's what we talk about, the importance of routine. So every day right now you are voting for a poor habit cycle or a good habit cycle or a bad habit cycle, or a good feedback loop or a bad feedback loop. And these behaviours are, the longer you go on with them for, the more deeply they'll become entrenched and the harder they are to reverse. So remember, a good habit is just as effective as a bad habit, and also just as hard to break. So if we can form good habits now rather than bad habits, that can only be a good thing. So I'm not saying you need to go to every single workout and turn up for every single workout, or eat really well every day, or get your 8 hours sleep every night. It is never going to happen. And as I wrote in the blog last week, it is absolutely fine to have an off day and to skip a workout because you can't be bothered. But you don't want to make a habit of it. Thank you, Catherine. Enjoying my glasses. What about my dicky bow? It's good too. You don't want to make a habit of it. Every time you do, that is like a vote for poor behaviours. And your body will learn that loop, and you're making that wheel, that feedback loop, stronger and harder to break down. So just bear that in mind every time. Now, there is a tactic, even for people that have zero routine set up, that feel like the journaling thing wasn't for them. If you did dismiss the journaling initially, and you found now that you're struggling to stick to a routine, might be time to revisit it, up to you. But we have a really nifty little trick, which we got from Atomic Habits. It's an amazing book by James Clear. And all you need for it is 2 jars and a number of small identical items. I've used pasta. It doesn't have to be pasta. It can be Lego bricks. It can be 2p coins. Whatever you've got lying around at home and you've got enough of, you need 28 of them. 28 days being the amount of time it takes to form a habit. And all you want to do is pick a habit that you want to stick to for the next 28 days. So that might be closing your laptop down at 7 o'clock and stopping working. And I'm sure there'll be people, hey bud, I'm sure there'll be people watching this going, Ian, I couldn't switch my laptop off till 11 o'clock at night. Fine, I'm not saying you have to do this. Pick a habit, something that will improve your health and be beneficial to you for the next month. And let's work on that one thing. So it might be getting out and doing 10,000 steps every day, getting out and going for your designated walk every day. It might be doing mobility every day, either with Ailey or via one of our videos on YouTube. Whatever it might be, maybe it's not eating crap after 9 o'clock at night. Whatever it is, whatever you're struggling with, pick that one thing. That's what you're going to work on. And all you do, it's super simple, but it's really effective. You get your 2 jars and you put 28 of whatever your item is. Let's call it pasta. Put your pasta in here. And then every day that you manage to turn your laptop off at 7 o'clock or eat well and not eat any crap after 9 o'clock at night, you take 1 piece of pasta from one jar, you put it in the other. Close them both up. Leave them for the day. If you do that, there's something goes on in our brain. Our brains are hardwired. We like to see something visual and something tangible when we achieve something, and it creates a positive relationship with that. And this is a really nice way visually to track your progress and know that by the time this jar here, by the time that's empty, you will have formed a good habit, right? And you will definitely feel and see progress as a result. And obviously the pasta moving from one jar to the other is the immediate motivator and stimulus that your body might feel like it wants. But the longer term effect, guys, this seems trivial, but honestly it makes a real difference. It's a hugely effective way of doing it. Can be massive on your health if you're not getting enough sleep at the moment. If you're struggling to switch off to de-stress after work, if you're struggling with your eating, if you're struggling with training regularly, whatever it might be, pick something, pick a habit. And if over the 28 days, you were saying I want to do 3 training sessions and yoga each week, then 4 times 4 is 16. So you only need 16 things from one jar into the other. If you want to focus on 2 habits at once, it's not something I'd recommend, but if you think the first one's super easy, then you could double it up and put 56 pieces in one jar. And then you move 1 across for each habit, so 2 a day, for example. Find something that works for you guys, but honestly, it's a really simple, really easy tactic to get yourselves back on track. And yeah, just be mindful of where you are in that cycle and the fact that we're coming out of the honeymoon period of lockdown and we're heading into the monotony of it, and that could be a really challenging time for you. So if you're struggling for motivation, try this tactic out. If you need some more support, please ask us